Hey, we're back with the NHS Wellness Podcast, and today I am interviewing Dr. Jack Myers. He's married with 4 kids, and he's been in surgery since 2003 and with us since 2015. And today I want to talk about, it's going around wildfire at the hospital, about your weight loss. It's a dramatic difference. That's what the talk is. Gosh, Dr. Myers has lost so much weight. Do you know how much weight he's lost?
Don't.
I know, that's what I tell him. I say, he doesn't know how much weight he lost because he doesn't weigh. But gosh, Dr. Myers needs to go shopping. He needs new clothes. But anyway, so my first question is, how was your weight affecting your mobility and your health prior to?
Well, I don't know if it was necessarily affecting my mobility. I had a moment. I'm in the band, as you know, and this summer, around June 1st, I saw a video of me playing music, and I had a disgusted moment. I was just so overwhelmed with disgust with how I looked that was the kind of the breaking point. I was like, all right, I didn't feel that bad, but I looked awful, and I was like, I can't keep doing that. That was how it got started.
Were you on meds or anything prior to? Not on meds now?
Never.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we just talked about your turning point. So what are your biggest challenges that you've encountered during your weight loss process?
Boredom. There's this thing with any kind of addiction, but food addiction was tough for me. And there's those that you're just excited to go eat something that's going to taste good, and even stuff that is going to make you feel bad afterwards. It was like, if I would be operating in the middle of the night and I'd get done at midnight or something, and the only thing that's open is Taco Bell, and but I was hungry and I wanted, it was that reward eating thing, and you just know you're going to feel terrible afterwards, and you still do it because in that moment, it's like, oh, this is so good. This tastes so good. It's just what I was wanting. And then knowing full well you're going to feel awful afterwards. So, and then just not having those, I guess the food rushes or something. I don't know what, but that's been probably the biggest, that was the biggest hurdle. I'm over that now. I don't have that desire, so, but that was the biggest, I think for me, the biggest challenge.
So you had a mind shift change during the process of it. Right. What are you doing, Delise?
Well, I don't know that I recommend this for everybody, but this is what works for me. There's several ways to look at it, but what I actually eat is I just don't eat things that are gonna spike my blood sugar. So basically, nothing carb based. Anything that's meat, cheese, protein, nuts, that kind of stuff. I just eat whatever I feel like, as long as it's not carbs. And so, and then I try not to eat breakfast if I can get away with it. Sometimes that's hard to do. It depends on how it goes. What works best for me is if I can make it through to lunch and eat kind of a later lunch and then have a snack at night. That's when everything's working, but it's hard to do that sometimes with my schedule because, I might be up at night working or something like that, but I just don't eat bread. I don't eat pasta. I don't eat potatoes. I don't eat anything that's gonna knock me out of ketosis.
Oh, okay. Okay. You like to cook, so how does that affect your cooking?
Well, I always like to cook stuff that was, on the grill anyway, so that's
right. So it hasn't affected.
No, I just don't. I don't make potatoes, and I don't make pasta anymore.
That's what you put on your seasonings and such.
Yeah, I'm a kosher salt and coarse pepper guy. Sometimes barbecue rub, but a lot of those barbecue rubs have got a lot of sugar in them. So, but I just it doesn't really affect that. Yeah.
So how did you approach portion control and mindful eating? Do you do that?
No, like I said, I eat whatever I feel like, but I get full fast. So it's self-limiting. I don't eat nearly as much as I used to, and it's just because I can't. But I'm, and I said, just changed my mindset of how I ate anyway. And so it's more like food is more like a maintenance thing. It's fuel, and it's not a reward, and it's not a thing that I'm just like super excited about. I mean, Thanksgiving, I was excited about it, but you know.
So how has your weight loss impacted your self-esteem and your body image? Has it?
I mean, I feel better, and people notice, and that's nice. But I don't. That wasn't really the thing for me. The thing for me is like, what's harder? Is it harder not being able to fit into pants, not being able to fit in an airplane seat, not being able to tie my shoes without it being a struggle, was just so much stuff that was just constantly hard, always hard, every day, 24/7, just being fat. And I'm not where I want to be yet, but things are just so much easier. And so that all that other stuff just kind of falls in line, but it's more of a, it's just, everything is easier now. I got clothes that can fit, and I'm not scared to be on the camera anymore.
Right.
So it just makes things life's been a lot more enjoyable.
So in your music, has it affected that? Like you're not so bashful, or are you still closing your eyes? And
I have, I've been playing music my whole life.
Yeah.
I've been in this band for 10 years, and it's my music, and it's I've always felt like, even when when I'm up there playing, and even when the crowd likes it, it's still, I'm kind of just bearing to be judged, and most usually rejected, and so it's that part's hard. So I don't think that's really ever made it any easier. I have terrible stage fright, and I deal with that by playing with my eyes closed, and so that hasn't changed.
Did you have any emotional challenges? Do you face emotional challenges during all this, like plateaus or setbacks, or?
Well, I was supposedly pretty cranky, but I don't remember. I don't know.
He needed a Snickers. I'm just saying.
Supposedly I was pretty cranky, but no, I'm pretty even keel. I think it's, your emotional state is a reflection of where your brain's at, I think, and your brain and your body are connected. If you're not taking care of your body, then your brain follows. And so I just think it's all connected, and just not being morbidly obese has helped me tremendously on that.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to somebody that was in the same place that you were?
Oh, lots. The way you look affects the way you feel, for sure. Is this poison, or is this not? And a lot of food is poison, and the stuff we drink is poison. And why are we doing that? Like I ride a motorcycle, and when I'm on trips and stuff, I've got to go to gas pumps with a premium fuel, and I'm doing that. Well, why? Because my motorcycle won't run right if I don't. And then I'm going to have some costly repair thing and stuff. And so I'll do that for my motorcycle, but I wouldn't do that for my body, All right. So that was another epiphany I had. It's like, well, why would you do that? Why would you treat your motorcycle that way, and not your personal health? Yeah.
How have your daily habits changed, such as your sleep, your activities, socially?
I'm much more apt to go to social engagements, where before you had to pull my teeth to go do it.
Yeah.
The daily stuff. I definitely sleep better. I'm sure I had sleep apnea, and so and I don't wake up with heartburn and reflux anymore. So that's been nice, because there was times, I'd wake up coughing, choking to death because I was refluxing because I ate something terrible, and then I went to sleep with it. And part of all of this too is I don't drink anymore. I used to drink beer quite a bit, and then I'd drink, and then it would make me eat bad, and so all of that has dramatically changed too. So I'm sure it's made things easier on me.
Okay, so after you reach your goal, what are your strategies for staying on track?
I don't have a goal necessarily. There's a guy named Scott Adams. I watch him every day. He's a hypnotist, and he's the cartoonist that created Gilbert. And he's done a lot of things, but he's got a daily show on YouTube I've been watching for years. But he's got a self-help book, several of them. But one of the things that he preaches that stuck with me is goals versus systems. And if you have a goal and you don't get it, then you failed. And if you have a system that works, you keep that system, and then you're constantly progressing every day versus, I haven't reached my goal and I failed my goal or something like that. I have a kind of a weight in mind I want to be at. And when I get there, I might enjoy some other foods here and there, but I know what not to eat if I don't want to get fat again. And so I think it's probably just this is mostly going to be my lifestyle and not going to be my system and not necessarily a goal.
So it's a lifestyle change completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking of health, so this is what I did notice on Facebook. You had plugged in that you went to the GI lab, which was totally out of character for you.
Right.
And so talk about that a little bit.
Well, my dad had colon cancer. So immediate family member with colon cancer. And he almost died from it. I mean, it was rough. And that was 5 years ago. And I needed to be screened right then. And I didn't. And the reason I didn't was because I was so fat and I didn't want to go and deal with other stuff. I didn't want some albatross hung around my neck and I'm gonna get in shape and then I'll go get it done. I knew I needed to get it done, and you blink and it's 5 years later, But so that was the main reason to do it. I was due. Plus, I'm a surgeon who takes care of people who haven't had screenings, and it's just it's a monthly thing where somebody comes in with just a catastrophic colon cancer problem that was easily preventable. And I'm like, I'm going to be that guy if I don't take care of it. So those two things were the main reason to do it. And I delayed it because I didn't want to go to the doctor because I was so unhealthy.
Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about medical and obesity.
Uh-huh.
Would you consider obesity a disease?
Absolutely.
What impact does obesity have on surgical outcomes?
Everything. I mean, it's obesity and cigarette smoke are the two things that just make surgical outcomes horrible. And sometimes you get away with it, but a lot of times they don't. And it was just a almost predictable line of complications that happen because of that. And there's certain things and that was tough for me, being a fat surgeon, telling a patient I can't help them until we lose weight to a certain point, or specifically when it comes to like hernia repairs and that kind of stuff. If they have a big ventral hernia and their BMI is over 35, I'm like, unless there's some immediate threat to life complication going on, I would refuse it, because if you don't, then you're going to be right back in with another hernia and complications, and they're going to be in a worse spot than they were. And telling people that as a fat surgeon was, the irony wasn't lost on me. And I would apologize to them up front. Listen, I get it. And so I don't really even consider myself a healthcare provider. I'm more like a sick care provider. I take care of sick people. And I don't really do a lot for maintaining their health, but people come to me and they've got some problem that needs addressed, and being their healthcare provider and being unhealthy was hard to deal with. It was hard to reconcile, and it made me feel terrible.
Mm-hmm. So can you explain how the excess body fat affects surgical access and visualization during procedure?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it depends on what you're doing. But, some stuff you just can't, it's just, you shouldn't go in at all, because you already know that statistically the outcomes are going to be bad. But trying to do things laparoscopically, minimally invasive, if they're morbidly obese, it's just a real challenge. And just things like gallbladders, a common problem that I encounter, and we wind up having to put in an extra port and having to have extra help and having to retract intraabdominal fat, and then their livers are swollen and because they've got fatty liver disease, and that makes visualization very difficult. And this is a surgery where, you know, everybody's anatomy is a little different, and if you can't visualize, you're subjecting yourself to significant complication, bile duct injury, that kind of stuff. So those all weigh in, and then just post-operatively, they're much higher risk for complications, DVTs, pulmonary embolism, that kind of stuff. And then, you know, one of the challenges we have anyway is getting people up and moving, and then that's multiplied if they're heavy, for sure.
How does obesity contribute to the development of comorbidities like diabetes, hypertension, sleep apnea, and how do these conditions affect surgical management?
I mean, they're the root cause I don't know, there's probably some skinny people with obstructive sleep apnea, they probably have some anatomical issue, but it's almost always, if someone has sleep apnea, they're obese, and that, what was the other part of that?
Hypertension.
Hypertension, definitely. And I mean, you just have so much more tissue to perfuse, you know, and you only have, you know, so much pumping power, and you just have to raise the pressure to do it, you know.
Right.
And diabetes is, you know, now there's type 1 diabetes, which is a autoimmune disorder, but the, you know, vast majority of diabetes is type 2, and that's insulin resistance, and almost always that's a direct result of obesity. That's my opinion anyway, but I think that's why.
Okay. What role can we as healthcare systems play in supporting better preoperative management of the obese surgical patient?
Well, I don't know about it starts with the primary care issue, and then that really needs to be addressed even before that. I mean, we were just fed as far as nutrition when we were kids.
True.
With a food pyramid. The food pyramid is like grains are the base, you know, and bacon's way up here, you know. And if you're gonna, you know, anyway, you've taken generations of people and educated them that what's healthy is grains and carbohydrates, and what's not healthy is meat and fat, and you wind up getting this generations of people who are now vectors of chronic disease. And so by the time they show up to their doctor, they've got all these problems. And then the treatment isn't, you know, hey, flip the food pyramid around, here's some education, you know, it's, you know, not diet and exercise. Well, you know, you've got these problems and you're obese now, you know, the reason you're obese is because we've got a drug deficiency. We need to give you a new medicine. And I just disagree with that, for sure. But especially in childhood, I mean, the kids have got to be educated and they've got to be exercised, and they're not, you know, it's awful. And you're just creating these lifelong vectors of chronic disease by poisoning them with bad information and bad food and bad lifestyle choices. And it's all, you know, so by the time to answer your question, I think the problem is way before they get to the doctor's office. I think it starts in childhood, and we're just not taking care of people from there. And it starts with education.